the Yes, this lady is so scary, by the way. Okay. So, welcome to the fourth round of the personal branding workshop. Honestly, if I have to say it, I did not expect that we'll be making this far. Like, I'll be making this far, by the way. I mean, y'all are great, but I just feel like, oh, will I run out of things to say? And thank God that hasn't happened yet. So, today, we will be discussing three very cool and important things because you guys chose it. I dropped a poll in the WhatsApp group and I asked that what workshop do you want? Do you want to go into design? Do you want to jump deeper into content? And everybody unanimously said that we want to jump into content. So today we're discussing like three essential buckets. All three of them kind of are my favorite. I've picked some of your examples in the workshop to kind of cover that. We'll just quickly get to it. So one, we're going to talk about Indians because we are all Indians. So that's a huge relatability factor. So which bucket would this content theme fall in? Is it a personal bucket? Is it a business bucket? Or is it a growth bucket? Can anybody over here tell me that which bucket does Indians as a content theme falls in? We have three content buckets that we do.
Growth bucket.
Growth
Absolutely.
है.
Growth. Because it's a generic word. It's something that a lot of people can relate with. So a lot of people can probably engage and comment on. And it's definitely not necessarily driving business because it says India, it doesn't say specificity. Second is interviews. Interview is a content theme. It's again another growth bucket. Why is this a growth bucket? Because a lot of people those who are on LinkedIn are either looking for jobs or are giving jobs or someone's hiring or something's happening, right? So that is another growth bucket for you where you would have probably been a part of this process. Can you talk about something and can you make that relevant to your business? We'll jump into that also a little bit today. And third is very clearly, as it says, business content theme. How do we make an insight work? I'm going to call it insight content theme. Honest thing to say would be insight content theme. But how do we make a business insight work? And I'm going to talk a little bit of mixing and matching there. So let's quickly get started with the first one. Using India as the theme. Okay. So here is a post. I'm going to open this post, but this post has gotten 70,000 reactions on LinkedIn. So this post is written by my friend Elliot. He lives in Goa with his wife, who does like very fantastic yoga retreats. Now he is talking about, dear Indians, you're wrong about India. That's a fantastic hook. That just says that okay, you're targeting your target audience, which is Indians. You're telling them, तुम्हें नहीं पता इंडिया के बारे में, तुम गलत हो. Okay, let's check out what you're saying. Sir, लेकिन इंडिया में क्यों रहते हैं? हमको अमेरिका जाना है. My cab driver says with a mix of confusion and hesitation. As a Gora in India, I'm used to yada 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 yada. Again, some of you will say that, Jatin, it is, a non-Indian white man writing a post in India. That's the reason why it's worked. So that's why I have three examples today. Just be patient with me. I'm going to prove this bucket in a same structure fundamental for you guys. I'm going to increase the size of this because, guys, I'm reading the post because it's very important for us to dissect it. We need to read and understand it. And then I'll tell you the frame. Now, as a Gora in India, in my 6 years living here, मैंने बहुत बार सुना है when people are saying that, oh, India is this, India is that. But I think that, and this is something that he said to the guy. He said, मैं सोचता हूँ कि इंडिया सबसे अमीर और ताकतवर देश होगा. So, I mean, saying positive things about India, Indians love to hear that, especially when it's from non-Indian people. If it's coming from the, west side of the world, we love it. I reply, as a matter of fact, in my Firangi Hindi. Again, he's using that emotion keyword to draw that in. Details of this story are there. Indians shock at this statement as if laddus were falling from the sky. Still, I firmly believe my claim, even if my Indians strongly disagree. So he knows that you're going to get those negative comments. You're telling them, just like, settle down. I know you're there. I can't deny India's problems, but sure, there's also a long list of my birth in the US. I'm going to now skip through some of the parts, see what's happening here. Understanding problems critical. कुछ बोल रहा है कि कुछ problems है country में fix करना चाहिए. Everywhere I look, I see India winning. Like in everything, he's finding that. Now, he's giving a lot of examples. Ratan Tata, Mukesh Tata, सब सुंदर पिक्चर ये अल्फाबेट भी डाल दिया है. इंडिया के यूनिकॉर्न्स भी डाल दिए हैं. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी डाल दिया है. All of this like huge dopamine hit he's giving to the Indian readers in his audience. Like ये भी कर लिया, ये भी कर लिया, ये भी कर लिया, ये भी कर लिया. And you start attaching yourself with it and feel like, okay, we're also getting it. Just the same way when someone's watching a cricket match who's not even playing the cricket match, but watches every cricket match, just feels that India should win because they derive that dopamine, that rush from there. Again, finally, he's done a lot of that. And he says, overall conclusion, he says that what are you doing for India? Kind of like, pushing the exchequer there and like saying, like, you tell me what you're doing. And then Jai Hind, very, very emotional, very like Jai Hind vibes, and then the picture is just so apt. This doesn't get better than this, guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? So some would say that, I mean, he didn't target this post, obviously. I know Elliot personally, but this kind of content usually works for all that reason. Now, Let's jump into the breakdown of this first, and then I will chat with you guys. Okay. So here we go. First is odd hook. Dear Indians, you're wrong about India, right? I mean, I could just simply say, dear founders, you're wrong about running a company. Like, whatever someone is doing, like they're actionable, their task, you flip through, it becomes a polarizing hook. Again, post में क्या है वो बात की बात है. Right now, we're just discussing the odd hook that he has used. But this kind of template of hook is usable in other things also, right? Like, Ridu, if you're teaching somebody about, let's say, speaking confidently on stage, who is your target audience? Dear target audience, you're wrong about dash. It just works. Okay. Next. First person. I taught you this in the previous workshop. If not in that one, in the previous one, I've said first person. It was in the recipe, and this was the first part of that recipe. So first person's important, right? I am gonna just. It's just nicer when I'm looking at everybody, so I'll just put it here. But like, so, otherwise, I'm just like talking to myself. Okay, third is harsh reality. In his post, somewhere he also addresses that I can't deny India's problem, but wherever I look, I see India winning. Right. So addressing the harsh reality is also important. It can't be like a fake, only optimistic, some random post, right? Just be real. This is his way of like protecting his authenticity. Then positive examples and a lot of them, right? And finally, at the end, what is the call to action if you disagree or if there is a main message or whatever that is, right? Now we have dissected this post. Anyone wants to add anything here, you can. Then I have like a series of questions planned for you all. Okay. Yes,
I
Midhu.
really do think that this works because it's him writing it. Do you think if any of us wrote this, it would still get as many
It would work.
reactions?
It would work. I'll show you. I'll show you. So a great question because my answer is exactly that. Now to write this viral post, you've got to answer these questions about India, of course. So what are people wrong about India and why? That's one. Second is, when was the last time you had a conversation about India with someone? Now that someone could be a friend who is not an Indian. Now you can add that flavor there. That picture could be with that person. So you could break his picture virality there. Now, what is that conversation that's happening? Why are you talking about it? All of those questions are for us to answer for later. But these questions can trigger your thought to like, मैं क्या सोच के लिख सकता हूँ या मैं क्या सोच के लिख सकती हूँ? Can you give examples to support your point and support India? Now, this should be personal. This shouldn't be something like Elliot has wrote in his post. Why do you think in your industry you can nicheify it very easily? Another is, what's your final message to anybody who's reading it? Now, you're right. It will not outperform with 70,000 reactions for sure, but if it will outperform your post and I like your usual numbers because it's a generic keyword. I'll prove it to you. So let's look at my profile. What do I talk about? So I talk about personal branding. So let's say I want to share a business insight on what works in India for personal brands, right? Like now, who is my target audience? My target audience is VCs, CEOs, startup founders, marketing officer, brand officers. Now, if I'm writing a post and I'm, let's say, using a similar kind of format of this kind of a hook, I probably will write something like this. Dear Indian founders. So I added the Indian theme directly into it. You're wrong about personal branding. Now, now the conversation turns in. What happened in that post? Us post mein kya hua tha? There was a conversation with the cab driver that was happening, correct? Oh, cab driver said this, I said that, and this happened. Now, what's the conversation that I'm sharing here? Let me move this around. A CEO running a 3,217 crore company once said to me, Jatin, I don't need a personal brand. My company's success speaks for itself. It's a real story. This literally happened. And that person came back to us after 6 months. In Q2 this year, a PR crisis hit and he found himself voiceless, struggling to regain control. Without a personal brand, he had no way to own the story. Today, we're building personal brands on LinkedIn. I've seen this happen time and again. Yada. A real conversation which has happened from like my conversations with founders and entrepreneurs. So I embedded that into this hook and let's see what happened. Wait. So this was a video, by the way, and this video got over 60,000 impressions. My average impression out is around 25 to 30,000 impressions. It ranges between that only. So for me, it was really good because it was a video which was on brand, specific, on point. So I got a lot of inbound messages of people saying, "Oh, my help kar do. I want to run personal brands or whatever." So here, what I'm trying to say, even though we're discussing India bucket, Mridu's question was, how can we talk about it? Like how can we integrate that? Shreya's question was also on similar lines. Like, what approach do I really take? Here, if you look at it, I have transformed a growth bucket into a business insight bucket. If I know something is gonna work, why do I want to waste that for some generic LinkedIn growth post, which is gonna make me look like very generic and dumb? But what if I mix the two and create a hybrid bucket for myself and talk business and stories or whatever in that? People would enjoy that. I would look intelligent, and I'd also end up getting business by the end of it. So that kind of like does it. I am totally open for questions. If someone wants to quickly give a read to this post, I can open that also. But I think we've kind of covered the point with this. Any questions, any thoughts in what we have discussed on India Bucket this far?
I have a question on the video that you had attached to this post. I had this last time only. So you were hanging out shirts, you were walking around, you were doing a couple of things during that video. I mean, I'm sure it was intentional, but what was it trying to convey?
So, okay, so okay, fine, I'll say it. So the thing is this, that of course that was intentional and that was planned. Before that video was made, I had walked around and had said, the person who was holding the camera that like, hey, so I'm gonna walk here, I'm gonna do this, I'll say 3 lines here, I'll spend some time here. This is my favorite area of the shot. So I'll spend more time, I'll take the glass, I'll put exactly here, I'll go out, I'll come close to the camera, and that's where I'll end the video and I'll go back. So I'd done this, one run through with it. But the script was something that I was saying, which I usually say also, I talk about. So it was easy for me to get it done quicker. But why was I showing that I was, doing all of these things, doing the daily shows? I don't need to do that. So a very important part of my brand is a little bit of lifestyle, but I can't talk about lifestyle. So I'm not showing you that, I'm showing you personal branding is a way of life. Like in the middle of my day, I'm doing my chores, I'm getting the thing done, I'm having a glass of wine in the middle of the day. Like who the hell is doing that? Like what are you doing right in your life, dude? So that. And for me, I like to keep it as natural as I can of like what I do usually in a day. I would go for a sunbath around the pool and I'll spend my day drinking juices there and like will not work. Like, but because my team is great, my co-founder is amazing. And they feel that I need to take these breaks to be creative. So I am using that leverage whenever till as long as it lasts. So I do that. So I want to show that part of it. And I also want to make it feel very effortless because I
Yeah.
want people to feel very effortless when they meet me. They feel like chill, relaxed. That's the reason why I wear like oversized clothes. It makes you feel very boho and yeah, beach vibe or whatever. So that's my reason. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, I'm open for counters. Okay, cool. Anybody else? Any more questions? No. Good. So one post doesn't do anything, as I always say. So we're going to decode two more on the same bucket. Okay. So let's quickly look at what do we have here and now. This is the post that I gave an example to Shreyas last time. So Shreyas, here, look at this post. This post is by Akshat, by the way. So 6,500 Indians who have a wealth of 8 crores plus will leave India in 2023. I am an HNI. When I speak with my friends, I'm told the same thing. Why don't you leave India? You will pay very less tax in Dubai and Singapore. My answer is emotional, not financial. Great grandparents, great parents, parents, all born in India, etc., etc., etc. 31,000 reactions. What is happening in this post? Let's decode that. I don't want to jump to the entire post in one. I mean, I think I should, since you guys have not read it, because I'm going to show you the same pattern that I've just showed you in the previous one. Again, so he's saying, my parents are living in India, so I want to live here. I don't change that thought. It took generations of kindness, help from neighbors, community to create a life that I have today. Now I don't want to leave when I can or whatever. Entire society has helped me a lot more emotion coming towards that direction, the social side of things. Honestly, I'm okay paying taxes, though I wish our governments, again, harsh reality, though I wish our governments become kinder to honest taxpayers. I'll always advocate for that. I'll have to travel, etc., etc. Note this picture is in Dubai, but I'm not shifting here and the picture and the traction. Cool. Now let's decode it. Anybody can jump in anytime, by the way. Today the chat is open the whole time. Chat is open means when your video is visible on the screen. Okay. Now look at this. Let's go to the process again. Odd hook. People, those who have a lot of money, are leaving India. Why? Like I've heard, why are rich people leaving the country? It's just goss. It's good goss. It makes for good goss. Tell me that. Okay, odd hook. Number two. First person, I mean, I am an HNI. So speaking from his own personal experience that I am, et cetera, et cetera. And I speak to my friends. So this happens. First person is important when you're trying to crack this kind of style because you're talking about India, but you're sharing your own personal opinion. It's important for the post to kind of bring that out. Harsh reality. I tagged it in the post as well. Though I wish that our governments become kinder to honest taxpayer. That's the harsh reality. We also found it in the previous posts. Now, examples. Where are the examples? Now, the example is my great grandparents, grandparents, and parents, they all live in India. So these are my examples of like why I probably want to live, here in India. Cool. And now finally in the end, the end says, while I love to travel and see new places, I have no intention of shifting. So kind of like closes it and gives you exactly that closure. Now, you would say that, Jatin, how do I write this post, right? Don't worry, I've got some questions for you to think about, and then we'll break for a chat. Now, to write this viral post, here are the questions you need to ask about India. You find the news. This is an economic time news. You find the news, you read on the news that, these millionaires who are leaving India, here's why they are moving to a different country. Now, you personally want to know that why are people leaving India? You personally want to know. You genuinely want to know. So if you want to know and you have a genuine interest in knowing, probably the people on your profile would also want to know. Now, when you find a news which is relevant about India, where you want to ask these questions, which you feel something is really goss-worthy, as I like to say in a joking way, you then ask yourselves questions on these lines. Like, why do you choose to live in India? If a lot of people are leaving out. If something else is happening in India, what are you choosing to do about it? And if you're choosing to do the opposite, only then it makes sense. What makes for a viral post, guys, is something that's against the general norm. So if everybody's saying that women empowerment is important, I will go and I will say that, you will never, my top 10 favorite creators on LinkedIn or favorite entrepreneurs on LinkedIn, there are zero women in that. And then there'll be a list of my top favorite entrepreneurs that I would have tagged. And in those 10 people, I would have tagged all women. It makes for like a funny, good post because, like, I've said that, zero women entrepreneurs inspire me. Here's the list of the 10 entrepreneurs who inspire me. And then, you have those 10 names and you flip the script. Again, there are multiple ways of approaching something, right? It's about thinking what you want to cover in that. However, one is, why do you choose to live in India? Another is, do you plan to shift in future or not? If you're picking this news, if you're picking that article, because when Akshat shared it, it was old. Now this is new current facts. For example, he talked about this particular thing when he's talking about this in this post in 2024 only. So again, if let's say next year you're sharing about it, if you want to follow the same style and format, then you should add more insight to it. Don't just repeat the same thing. Learn the formats, learn the structure. Don't copy like the entire thing. It doesn't serve you well anyways. Okay. So with this, I now come to, I now come to this. Let's write a post for Shreyas, right? Let's try to use this exercise. I'm restricting the room a little bit, and all of us will do it together, right? So I'm restricting the room to now India as a bucket. Shreyas, my question to you is, what is the topic that we want to write on if it has to go to your LinkedIn profile? What's the topic?
I would want to write about how a lot of use cases for Indians are still unanswered because we're using a copy-paste playbook from what works in the Western countries for Western consumer.
Okay, good. So now let me try to define it in like a shorter format, which says that what's not working in India because of the West. Cool? Like what's not working in India for Indians because of the West. Now, who is your target audience for this? Who are we targeting? Who are we talking to when we are, pushing this post on your LinkedIn profile? Who is that person?
Entrepreneurs who's building for Bharat.
Okay. So we'll say startup founders, and it's India bucket, so it's India only. Anybody else apart from startup founders, or is it just the startup founders we're talking to? You're on mute if you're adding.
No, I think, or perhaps youngsters who have a different perception of what India is like.
Okay. So who are these youngsters? Tell them a little bit. I mean, like, is it an age group? Is it a city? Who are these youngsters?
Tier 1 cities who are in the top 1 percentile in terms of earning potential and have very urban use cases.
So these youngsters, are they students
Urban
or are they
students and young working professionals?
working professionals? Because I think you'll find more, like, I think first job seekers. I mean, we have two HR specialists on the call. I don't want to say that wrong. Okay, cool. So this is our target audience. It's fine. I mean, it's clean. Now let's try to jump here and let's try to draft a post on this together. Okay. So what's not working for India because of the West? So now if our target audience is, let's say, founders, we could say the same thing. Dear Indian founders. You'd say, Jatin, that'll look like a copy of the hook that you have written. Honestly, I don't mind it. But dear founders of India. It feels like someone has founded India. So incorrect. Dear founders in India. Let's add startup founders in India. Okay. So we've changed that a little bit. Now, what is the problem statement? What are they wrong about? You are wrong about. What are they wrong about? Like,
How everybody is similar to them. I think a lot of them have a perception that everybody is very similar to me in terms of a consumption pattern.
okay. So, you're wrong about your consumers, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's what you're trying to say indirectly, that you're thinking that you are the consumer, but you're not. So you're wrong about your consumers, right?
Yep.
Okay. Or customers. I don't know who we're targeting. Is it B2B? Is it B2C? Whatever. You can figure that out. You're wrong about your customers. Okay. Again, this line can be changed also. You'll never find this about your customers unless you read this or whatever. But it depends on how extreme you want to go there. Okay. Like I basically decide based on my mood how extreme I want to go with like a really catchy hook or not. Okay. Now we're done with this. What is it that we should be adding here, Shreyas? What is it that we should be saying here? What was it that we learned? And anybody can answer, by the way. What was it that we learned in the first example? So sorry, got a drop. Okay, cool. See you. We can finish his post for him. So what is it, guys? What is it that we learned from that first example? What was it there? There was a cab. Yeah,
It's a conversation, right? Like a real-time conversation.
fantastic. So now, if Shreyas is writing for startup founders in India, who is he having this conversation with?
The customer. One
Or
of the consumers, maybe,
startup
or
founder.
one of the startup founders. It could be either.
yes, it'll be one of the startup founders because we're targeting our target audience. So
Ah.
we're not losing ourselves. We're just focusing on the subject. It's as simple as that. So yesterday, I met the CEO of now first he has to have really met somebody like that. Otherwise, you'll get it's going to backfire eventually. So the way when I tell you format, my meaning of telling you format is try to go back to a real life event that has happened and use this format there. That's why I'm teaching you writing. That's why I'm not giving you templates of this. Cool. So just clearing the air on that. Yesterday, I met the CEO of let's say, don't write INR by the way, like a 430 CR smartphone.
Why do you say that?
I mean, a personal opinion. I like INR better than rupee symbol. I use rupee symbol because I think I'm cool when I use it. I know I'm very dorky and stupid, but it's just that, like, I don't know. You can use it. There's no problem. We can use it.
No, everything you say, I'm going to attach it to a meaning, Jatin. If it's just like, it's okay, kinds, then that's okay. But
Sometimes it's just preference, yeah. Sometimes it's hashtag mood.
yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Well, it's
No,
chill. Okay, yesterday I met the CEO of a Vodafone smartphone brand, and he asked me this. What did he ask? Now, you can't answer this. I can't answer this. Rachit, who's gone now, can't answer this clearly. It's because we need Shreyas's insight here. He will say what is that common question that they ask. Then the conversation will flow. Then there'll be 5 examples. Then there'll be a final closing message, and then it'll be through and it'll be done. Now, if we had to look at the same post and we had to probably, sorry, just 1 second. Cool. So now if we had to look at this post and we had to like change it to like the current one that we've just learned, right? In that particular case would be how many startups have been shut down in the last 1 year? So let's say you'll say 50 startups shut down last year. I would say how many startups were started in India last year? So you say 250 startups were started in India last year. So I need this news. I'll have to research on it if you want to write like something of this sort, like these many Indians who have a wealth of this. Basically, you're now building a case and you're proving that wrong. You're just using this template to tell that story. I'll give you an example. Like You're saying that a lot of Indian startups or Indian startup founders make this mistake of thinking that they can just copy the West, correct? So now, how many Indian companies have been opened in 2023 which have copied the concept from the US or from the West? जैसे कि स्विगी है या जोमेटो है या फिर ये ओला उबर है, वो लिफ्ट के ऊपर बनी हुई है, राइट? सो ये सेम टू सेम, अब ये रिसर्च लाना पड़ेगा, तभी फिर उस वायरल टाइप की पोस्ट बनेगी, क्योंकि तभी वो इनसाइट आएगी उसके अंदर. दैट्स व्हाई आई से लेस इज मोर. कम कंटेंट डालो, पर अब आपको भी पता है ये बात, अब आप भी किसी से जाके बात कर सकते हो, आपकी इंडस्ट्री की नीश की बात है, सो यू विल आल्सो हैव अ गुड टाइम हैविंग दैट कन्वर्सेशन विद देम. नाउ दैट्स अनदर वे ऑफ कवरिंग इट. लेट्स क्विकली जंप टू द नेक्स्ट वन, बिकॉज oh, great. 33. We can cover in today's workshop. Okay. Third one, third example, India theme, India bucket. Let's quickly look into it. A friend of mine in college, not Indian. So Indians really want to know what not Indians think about them. Told me Indians culturally celebrate overwork. So you have to say what non-Indians are talking about India. Okay, this is another proof. Okay, not sleeping, being too busy to eat, working hard, that we have no time for hobbies and families. Well, I didn't love hearing this then. It is true in corporate India. Rachit, rings a bell. Rings a bell. Bucket, bucket. 11,000 reactions up. I may have been guilty of this. Wait, खोल लेते हैं, छोटी सी post है. So, okay. I may have been guilty of this at some point in the past myself. So again, it's kind of like harsh reality. Over the years, I've realized this doesn't make you a better leader, more likely an imbalanced one or an inefficient one. Got too spicy too soon. Sleep is good. Sleep is a good thing. As are healthy, well-rested employees. Let's celebrate that. Cool. Now, this is 4 years ago. कुछ COVID में चल रहा होगा, तो topical है. But let's break this down. So very quickly, number one, odd hook. A friend of mine in college, not Indian, told me Indians क्या करते हैं. First person. A friend of mine in college, not Indian, told me. It's all first person happening from the first line. Third, harsh reality. I may have been guilty of this at some point in my life in the past, right? So you accept, you show yourself to be a human. You don't make like an optimistic, over-exaggerated post. Like, ask me, I've done that a lot. Had to learn the hard way. Positive examples. क्या है वो? आप पॉजिटिव मत बोलो इसको यार, पर एग्जांपल्स तो है ना, like not sleeping, being too busy to eat, working hard, having no hobbies, whatever. Finally, the end. Sleep is a good thing. So are healthy, well-rested employees, and that's where you conclude and you close the post and you leave it then and there. So something which is largely relevant for all of you guys. That's why I like broke down this into these 5 steps so that you could just look at it and be like, okay, it looks like different posts and stuff, but something's kind of like, working, not working here. Now, on that note, I open the room for like chatting, talking about it a little bit, because we'll jump into the next bucket after this. So what do you all think about the India bucket? Do you have any questions, or do you want to question anything that I have shared? Open for that.
So I have one question. I have worked with multiple countries, so my followers are a mix of Indians, though predominantly they are there. They're a mix of global followers also. So is that going to is there something that I can look from a global perspective? Can I apply the same template for, say, other countries as well? How does it work?
Of course, dear Germans, you're wrong about what? And you fuel that fire. Play with it. Just add enough value in it so people don't come to your house to burn you like a witch. Otherwise, it's all good. Also, on that note, India, honey, is rising so much right now. If you will talk about India, all of your international audience will come and they would want to listen to you. What are you telling about India? What can
What
they
an
know?
accent here, Jatin. Wow.
I'm like in Saturday mode right now, but thank you. Spend too much time in Dubai with the Arabs. But my point is that you can choose to use the hook in whichever way. I'm just teaching you that it's a smart way of getting the attention. देखो कितना सिंपल है, जिससे आपको बात करनी है, जिसकी attention चाहिए, जिसको पोस्ट पढ़वाना है, डायरेक्टली डियर डैश उसी को लिख दिया. Now, I'm not saying that that post should, I mean, ideally it should go viral because we're using a lot of technicality in it. But even if it doesn't, it's a good brand post. It's a good post which gets you right audience and you being intelligent. You're not just chasing something for some likes to copy कर लिया किसी का post या कुछ भी डाल दिया. Don't do that. That tarnishes the brand. More questions? No? Cool. Good. Awesome. Okay. Here we go. Now let's look at the questions that we can ask to write a viral post like this, even though we've covered. What has a non-Indian told you about India? We covered in the first one. What has a non-Indian told you about the work culture in India? Wait, let me just, work culture in India. Okay, more specific. Another. What has a non-Indian told you about customers in India? Doing business in India? What has an Indian, non-Indian told you about markets in India? What has a non-Indian told you about living in India? Please, that should be the last one. Yes. And Mridu's board is here. So now this is what we kind of like talking about in terms of the questions that we can answer, and then we can, draft a post. Now, Mridu, for you, let's write up your target audience and let's write up what we want to talk about. But the only thing I'm restricting the entire chat room right now is on India as a bucket. So go for it. Tell me, what is it that you want us to write about?
I think early professionals, like maybe first jobbers, who think that it's great to work outside of India and everything is hunky-dory and life is so amazing outside and India sucks. That category of people, basically. So young, early working professionals who, everyone has that dream of, oh, I'm going to go to the US, especially IT professionals. They really want to go abroad on site and work somewhere else in the country. So
Okay, I want to ask this. So, is this your target audience also?
not always, but sometimes.
Sometimes, then it works. Then it works.
Yeah.
We always, my point of asking that question is we always want to focus on a part of our target audience and only write for them and never mistake it, even for a, LinkedIn growth bucket. So our voice remains consistent and our messaging comes out consistent. Okay. Now, what's the post topic that we're figuring out? So people who want to go out of India to study or to work, you want to tell them that it's much better here, right? Now, it's much better here, and like just do a comparative of it, like how difficult things get, which are actually like, for example, we have a Sandy in the house. That's like my 24/7 IoT, and you can't get that outside, and that's like a toughie. Okay, so that's that. Now, having said that, let's define the topic also a little bit, like we defined the previous topic, so that it just gives us a direction. So, why? So, are we talking about working in India or studying in India? Or are we talking about living in India?
We're talking about people who want to essentially who think that leaving India and building a life outside is great.
Okay, why?
So it could even be, I mean, ideally, it doesn't have to be, now that I'm thinking about it out loud, it doesn't have to be only freshers. It is actually just working professionals who want to move outside India.
Okay, I've done it like a little bit of like a polarizing hook, so we can change that. But this is just the topic, okay? Like I said, like why building in US will be much worse than in India. Much worse than in India. It's just very negatively pushing them. You can change that because I know your brand's very positive. But this is just an example.
Yeah, I wouldn't try that.
Yeah, I will just change it. Why building in India will be much better than in US. Okay. Now building could be working, whatever. So you've tweaked it, toned it right to your brand. Okay. Now, अब अगर हमें ये चीज केस प्रूफ करना है तो हम फर्स्ट वाले का एग्जांपल नहीं लेंगे, डियर वियर नहीं करेंगे, अब हम करेंगे सेकंड वाले का एग्जांपल जो अक्षत वाले पोस्ट का था, राइट? लाइक हाउ डू यू राइट अ पोस्ट लाइक दैट विद दिस डेटा एंड नंबर्स एंड स्टफ इन्वॉल्व्ड. अच्छा, नाउ when we're talking about why building in India will be much better than building in US in the coming years or whatever, now we want to prove it with some data of what has happened. So in the last couple of years, how many people, there are multiple factors that we can compare it on. We have to pick one factor, which is most soothing to our case. Like how many people, those who've gone from India and are struggling for jobs or have not been close or have had to come back. So उसको रिवर्स ब्रेन ड्रेन बोलते हैं ये, कि हाउ मच ऑफ इंडिया इज कमिंग बैक टू इंडिया. नंबर टू, कितने ऐसे लोग हैं जिन्होंने बाहर बिजनेस बना लिया था, सेटल हो गए थे अच्छे से और वो वापस आ गए. अगर वो बहुत सारा नंबर नहीं है, हमारे पास डेटा का स्टडी नहीं है, तो हम लोग एक इंसान की स्टोरी जिसे न्यूज ने कवर किया उस पर्सन का वहां पे नाम मेंशन करके एग्जांपल दे सकते हैं. अगर कोई न्यूज में आया होता है तो आपको कंसेंट की जरूरत नहीं होती है, बिकॉज देयर न्यूज इज पब्लिक, सो इट्स पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन फॉर यू टू शेयर. नाउ सिमिलरली व्हेन यू गो टू लाइक, और क्या डिटेल्स हैं जो हम इस पोस्ट की ढूंढ सकते हैं, वेर इन वी फाइंड समथिंग लाइक कि यूएस में जो प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं इंडियन लोगों को और इंडिया में वो सोल्यूशन अवेलेबल है. तो अब हमें पता है कि इस पोस्ट को लिखने के लिए वी हैव टू फॉलो दिस प्रिंसिपल. We have to have an odd hook. So our odd hook will have what numbers? Our odd hook will have the numbers where it will say stuff like कि इतने नंबर ऑफ लोग ब्रेन ड्रेन हुआ या इंडिया से बाहर गए, उतने में से इतने वापस आ गए क्योंकि उन्हें जॉब नहीं मिली या फिर उन्हें बहुत कम उसकी जॉब मिली या उस टाइप का काम नहीं मिला जैसा वो ढूंढ रहे थे. You prove that with data, you actually find that out and you share that. After that correct information, then you start building your case. What is it? You say in first person, मेरी किसी से बात हो रही थी, इसलिए मैं, why are you
Or
writing?
like in my case, I can just say that I used to live in London. And these are the 10 reasons why I found that life in India is so much better than life in the UK. And
So तो I'll say, अब क्योंकि आपके पास पर्सनल स्टोरी है तो अब हम इसको कंप्लीटली चेंज कर सकते हैं. लाइक नाउ if you're writing, you would say, I lived in London for how many years? 4 years?
yeah,
2 years?
1.5.
2 years? And any other country you've lived for like a fairly 1 year long time? No, okay. I lived in India. वो तो बहुत बड़ा comparison हो जाएगा. It will not be a good match, so we can't pick that. I'll tell you what is the thing that I'm trying to establish here. You moved from London and came to India. What was that time? What was that decision you took? Right? वो conversation डालना यहाँ पे important है. So why did you move back from London to India? What was that year? It was in 2020.
2022. But that's not the story I want to build, honestly, because मैं लंदन पढ़ने के लिए गई थी और एक एक्सपीरियंस के लिए गई थी और मुझे हमेशा पता था कि मैं वापस आने वाली हूँ. So I don't want to make it sound like that wouldn't be authentic if I said that.
And that wouldn't be a good example here because you'd gone in as a student और यहाँ हम बताने वाले हैं life कितनी खराब है. And you may have
Right,
had the
but
best time.
I went there as a student, but I went there like now after working for 16, 17 years. So it's not like so I experienced a lot of things. Like to give you a few examples, लोगों को 1 महीना लग जाता है बैंक अकाउंट खोलने में वहाँ पे. Normal people take
Oh
1 month to open to get a bank account. So most people go to digital accounts like Paytm Digital Wallet here, similarly Monzo or whatever else there, 4, 5 other players. Or something as simple as just the convenience of life, right? Like we have 10-minute delivery that has spoilt us now. You cannot have any of that abroad. You do not have just the cities are livable. The plus points, if I have to do a comparative study, I will do the plus points on the livability and the connection. The public transport is great and the cities are walkable and all of that. But for a daily life person, when you compare life in the same purchasing power parity, whatever you are earning in India, and if you take the purchasing power parity equivalent of pounds in the UK, your life is more full of struggle on a daily basis with small things. So people who have children are struggling with childcare. It is so expensive that one spouse actually has to quit their job and sit at home because that's more feasible than to afford childcare, So data like that, which is available and which I know some of, and I can find a
Yeah.
lot more.
That is your post. It'll be a viral post because you will share all the purchasing power parity के math also. So वो पता लग जाएगा वहाँ पे. I've written some similar content like this and it's really worked very well because you'd give that insight and there is analysis that backs it. Now, my question to you is, you've written the post already as we've spoken, but what is the end result you want out of this post? That's a very important thing for us to do. What do we want out of this post at the end of it? बिकॉज कुछ ड्राइव करना चाहिए ना, वरना फिर ये वो लिंक्डइन ग्रोथ की वो पोस्ट हो जाएगी कि जस्ट वैक्यूम है, कि पोस्ट में लिखा हुआ है फिर वैक्यूम है. सो व्हाट इज इट दैट वी वांट? कुड बी लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल ये हो सकता है, जैसे मुझे क्या आ रहा है कि बैठ के ये सोचो कि तुम्हें रियल जाना क्यों है, किस रीजन से. क्या तुम्हें अच्छी जगह देखने जाना है इसलिए यू चूजिंग इट? लाइक व्हाट्स योर रीजन? लाइक आस्किंग योरसेल्फ दैट वन सिंपल क्वेश्चन अगेन एंड रियली आस्किंग इट नॉट जस्ट लाइक sliding it away. I mean, whatever.
So, but then the eventual goal of this whole bucket would just be to go viral, technically.
Of course, it's LinkedIn
That's
growth.
it, right? Like, because it's not going to get me any business or anything like that.
Not at all. That is why I shared one example of like my post where I fused it with the business insight bucket, and I did like a duet with both of them. So you could do that also, but that will not perform that much. That will only get you 500 reactions on a video. That's best. Why? Because that's specific to startup founders. It's not specific to all the Indians on LinkedIn. But if I write for all the Indians on LinkedIn, it gets much more impressions compared to that. So same is the case for you also. You don't have to restrict yourself कि I have to only write for, let's say, freshers, early working professionals. You can choose to use this bucket for maybe saying something in your
Right.
industry, and that makes you a thought leader, Mridu. That makes all of you guys a thought leader, because thought leader वही तो है जो अपनी इंडस्ट्री में, देश में क्या हो रहा है और दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है वो आपको बता रहा है. So that's a thought leader post. Okay. So that's that. Let's quickly move to the next, because I know we have 12 minutes now. So we'll cover whatever we can cover here. I'll move the rest to the next workshop. It's fine, because depth is more important right now. So now let's look at hiring. I'm calling it hiring. You can also call it interviews. The reason I call it hiring is my way of telling you that don't overdo it. Only do it when you're hiring for a role, so that there is like a actual call to action attached to it. उसके बिना करते हो तो लोग आपको ना जज करने लग जाते हैं कि ये आ गए हैं एंगेजमेंट फार्मिंग करने. तो we don't want our personal brand to get into that. So whenever you're actually hiring, then do this. Now we'll quickly do a quick walkthrough of this. How do you kill a company? 23,000 reactions. How do you kill it? It was like, what? Who wants to kill a company? So how do you kill a company? By hiring the wrong leadership. You can have a revolutionary yada yada yada, this, that, those, and all and everything. I'm only talking about the hook. I'm not going to jump into this post. But what am I trying to say there? Here, odd hook. How do you kill a company? Right? By hiring, and then you're answering also how. Then challenge. Like, what's the real challenge? Why is, this company problem happening? Why am I talking about this post? Right? Then what do I do? My personal take of this, three things I focus on, one solution I take, or whatever that is. Now, very quickly to show you what are the questions that you can ask yourself and how this particular post will become relevant for all of you guys now. Now, how do you kill a leadership? I think this is something that was written in the post. Another would be how do you kill a company? This was in the post. Another is how do you kill, culture, how do you kill a brand? How do you kill a team? What are you going to kill next? Like, that is my actual question. Because like, if you say how do you kill this, अब क्या होता है ना, रिवर्स साइकोलॉजी. आप जाके बोल रहे हो कि ऐसे बना लो, ये बना लो, ये कर लो, ये कर लो, right? How do you die in 72 days? Okay. So like, tell like something in that post and then figure out like how you want to say and give that value. It really hooks and grabs the attention of the audience, right? How do you develop stage fear in like 5 weeks? Like, just a very reverse switch of that. But just an example to give. I kept Sandhya's workshop here very quickly. We can come back to the workshop in the end also, because Rachit and Sandhya would be left and we have a little less time. But we could cover it very quickly. Can I just cover the entire thing and then go to your workshops? Because I think we have one more only left. Cool. Okay. So second one, same interviews bucket. I took an interview at 10 a.m. yesterday. The candidate asked me, what is the work philosophy at Noise, right? Then there is the philosophy. So it's a very simple way of saying, I've also done content on this bucket. I've not added in this slide, but I've done something like, I took an interview at 4 p.m. on Friday, and the candidate asked me, will this be a paid role or something like that? And then I'm saying we should end all unpaid internships, because if you're taking someone's time, give them that extra cash so they learn money management or whatever and whatever. And then that's like the post. And then I, at the bottom of it, would say, like here in this post, it would say interview hook. What did I say? ये आंसर था उसका जो इंटरव्यू में दिया उन्होंने. और लास्ट में है वे हायरिंग एट ऑल लेवल्स. ये लो, यहाँ पे क्लिक करो और जॉब रोल ले लो. आई डू स्पेसिफिक रोल्स एंड स्पेसिफिक पोजीशन. सो आई विल डू वे हायरिंग कंटेंट राइटर्स. तो अब मेरा जो कॉन्वर्सेशन है वो ये होगा कि आई टुक एन इंटरव्यू ऑफ अ कंटेंट राइटर एट 4 p.m. on Friday, right? Or on Friday at 4 p.m. I spoke to a content writer. देन कुछ रिमोट वर्किंग के अराउंड कॉन्वर्सेशन हुई, जो भी यूजुअली मेरी बात होती है, जो लोग सवाल पूछते हैं, क्योंकि मैं टारगेट कर रहा हूँ ना कंटेंट राइटर्स को कि वो जॉब के लिए अप्लाई करें. तो जो मुझसे वो इंटरव्यू में पूछ रहे हैं मैं वही डाल देता हूँ. इट जस्ट बिकम्स मोर रिलेटेबल एंड रेलेवेंट फॉर द पीपल दोस हु वांट टू अप्लाई फॉर द रोल. एंड देन एट द एंड ऑफ इट आई विल से, यहाँ पे ये रहा लिंक और ये अप्लाई कर लो. सो सेम इज द केस हियर. व्हाट इज एन इंटरव्यू कॉन्वर्सेशन दैट हैज हैपेंड विद यू, एंड हाउ कैन दैट हेल्प यू? ए, दिस इज अ ग्रोथ बकेट. हाउ डू यू मेक इट अ business insight bucket? We will discuss that. Rachit's example is like, Rachit's workshop is exactly that example. Now, my point of telling you this is that interview is the keyword which will help you go viral. So India is one word, right? Interview is another word. तो आपने कोई इंटरव्यू लिया है, किसी को इंटरव्यू दिया है, कुछ भी वो कॉन्वर्सेशन है. अब उस कॉन्वर्सेशन के अंदर आप कुछ भी बात डाल सकते हो. जरूरी थोड़ी है इंटरव्यू पे यही बात हो रही है कि जॉब कैसे मिलेगी या फिलोसफी क्या है या क्या है. एक इंटरव्यू पे कुछ ऐसा भी डिस्कशन हो सकता है where someone's asking you something. Also, आपको कोई आइडिया है, you want to talk about something, like we were talking about a post in the last workshop, you want to talk about something on your own. If you want to do that, again, you can butt it into an interview based conversation, because you know that interview as a keyword would work. ज्यादा लोग आपकी स्टोरी पढ़ेंगे अगर वो किसी इंटरव्यू चैट रूम में हुई है. So that's my time on this one. Anyone has any questions? No? Good. Okay. Okay. What questions will you ask yourself to write a post like this? What's the most interesting interview that you've ever taken? Why was that interesting? लोगों को जानना है. What is the most difficult question that you have been asked as in an interview that you took? So you're the interviewer और किसी ने तुमसे मुश्किल सवाल पूछ लिया है. क्या है वो? ये वाला लोगों को टी चाहिए. In your case, Mridu, if you're making it like for your audience, you could also talk about like how journalist interviews are done. Even though it is not something that you want to teach your a person who's coming to take a workshop, पर उसको ये पता चल रहा है कि अच्छा she looks for this when you gave your first interview वो क्या था और उससे आज तक में क्या बदल गया है जर्नलिज्म में पब्लिक स्पीकिंग में. वो इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है, वो इनसाइट बताने के लिए अच्छी है. वर्स्ट इंटरव्यू क्या था, क्या था, क्या what would you have changed in that? वो so adds vulnerability also, but also gives like genuine insight to somebody like what you would probably want to talk about. And this is Parul's post. We're skipping it because she's not here. Now, any questions? And then we'll go to business insight theme. Then we'll do the two workshops, one for Rachit and one for Sandhya. Quickly. No? Good. Okay. So for Rachit, we will discuss like the post that was shared in the group. So we'll discuss on that. So let's quickly do Sandhya first and then we'll come back to Rachit. So Sandhya, here is your workshop. Tell me, what is a topic that you want to write about and who is the target audience that we're writing it for?
I might want to write about something, how startups don't, or startup founders don't value HR or the people's insights enough, and it would target those startups, founders, etc.
Okay, so let's plate it like this. You had a conversation with a candidate and they asked you some question and they were a little concerned about and this was for a senior role, and they were a little concerned about the founders that whether they would be genuinely interested in building the people and culture at so and so company.
Yeah.
Now, if that conversation is happening between you and that person in some interview, people because of that interview would read what is happening here and you will end up telling the entire story there, and then you can give like a one-liner message. Ab isme you've not done any dirty laundry. You're not talking about like you think they should do it. You're saying, oh, it should happen in general. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying? So what did we do in this exercise right now? We only created a post structure.
Correct.
Then you jump into that and you say, okay, how do I want to start this? So yesterday I took an interview of what role, give details. This is something we discussed in the previous workshop. First person, when, and one big, like lesson. So what is it? What is it that role that you're interviewing for? You were maybe interviewing for, let's say, CHRO. Now again, you're not interviewing for CHRO, you can't write it. Arey, so what are you working on? You could write about that. Also, you could talk about a friend of yours who you've met at coffee and you're not talking about interview, and there you guys started talking about this, right? And she is, let's say, so and so whatsoever and everything. If you have a real friend like that, good time to give them a call, take a picture with them. Good for your branding when you put it up there and genuinely ask them this question and really write a real post. Now they would probably repost it or would come and drop a comment. It builds you a bigger, stronger brand. So creating content is all about telling stories and through those stories educating them. Like I gave the rabbit and the turtle example, we have learned all our lessons in life by reading stories. That okay, this happened in a story, so okay, greedy dog story we would remember, right? So we remember that crow and the crow trying to get water out of that pot by throwing some stones in it, and that we remember it like that. Like I can't even tell you the exact line, I'm just remembering it like that. So that's kind of it. So for example, let's say we want to write a post for startup founders or the target audience startup founders. I think we've kind of covered that. If you have any questions, you can tell me. We can then move, due to lack of time, move to Rachit. We can. Okay, cool.
Can I also make the post? So let's say that you mentioned that interview is the keyword which works better, right? But I do not take any interviews. I mean, unless and until I hire someone for my as interns for my content or something like that. But let's say that I was on a consult call with my potential client, and they asked me that how is it going to be difficult, or how different is it going to be this time, because they have had multiple attempts towards fat loss or health transformation. How is this going to be difficult? And then I just mentioned about all of this.
Okay. I'll break this down for you really quickly. Okay. So look at this, Rachit. It's fair. I mean, if you're not taking interviews, don't talk about it. That's chill. That's good. That's good brand call. That's good brand thinking. Now, if you're on a consultation call with someone, so now automatically, if you're talking about a consultation call, your audience set, which was huge, the people who were giving interviews, has now reduced to limited number of people. So the post performance will also get a hit because of that. So just be aware of that. Now, When you so first is this. Second, when you're talking about, let's say, someone was asking that because I've had like 4 failed attempts in the past, so how will I be successful, or how much more effort will it take, or whatever, and all and everything, right? Now, this question's a little generic because your hook will be good. Someone will read the hook. They will reach till the conversation. What did we do? Dear Indians, you're wrong about India. Hook worked. You read to the conversation. Okay, it's a conversation happening with a cab wala. Now that conversation hooks you. Then you go to the next step. So now here also, it has to hook you. So what's that question? How do you tweak that question? How do you hook your hookize or hookandamize your question, whatever that is? So that will become like, that's why when you'd see here also on this slide, we discussed of all the extremes. What's your most interesting interview? What's the most difficult question? What's the worst interview? So we are like really superlativing it. So what's that most extreme factor question? That helps us find out what we want to say. Okay?
Get it. Yes.
See, the masala of the conversation, as my mom would say. Okay, so here we go. This is, of course, Rachit's post. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this particular post where Indians have a pathetic habit of starting a conversation with a comment on physical looks. We're going to change it now. But we're going to decide the topic first of this, Rachit. So what's the topic that we're picking for this post?
So I talk a lot about this, that we cannot compare ourselves with Caucasians or any other population throughout the world because they have different genetics with respect to getting diseases. We have an added disadvantage that we can get heart diseases earlier, cardiovascular diseases earlier, and we can get diabetes earlier as well. Okay.
But your post didn't say that at all.
This was an entirely different post, right? Which I talked about. I don't even know.
I'll show you now. This is the one you shared in the group, no?
Yes. I remember now. काफी दिन हो गया. अच्छा 3 दिन ही हुए हैं. Just been 2 days. Yes.
So you wanna we can change that. I think it's Mridu's text. Sandhya literally. Yeah, cool. Bye. Okay, go for it. Should I remind you? मैं पढ़ के आया हूँ. So
मैंने पढ़ लिया. याद आ गया. I write my post myself. Oh, I remember everything, but it's been 3 days now.
अच्छा चल ठीक है ना यार, चिल है. तो आई एम सेइंग दैट दिस इज, यहाँ पे कौन टारगेट ऑडियंस है और यहाँ पे क्या टॉपिक है, क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं हम. Like, what is the end result that you're trying to get out of this post? What is it? I want to write it here.
That how Indian relatives are a little bit less compassionate. Not really. I think it's how these comments, these ruthless comments impact our fat loss journeys or impact our lifelong journeys with respect to fitness and health.
Okay. So we're saying that how negative comments can impact your confidence.
Yes.
And what's the solution we're giving?
To be a little bit more compassionate.
How negative comments harm नहीं यार. Negative comments lead to lack of confidence. Okay, cool. Who is the target audience?
Everyone who's looking to.
So this is a growth bucket. This is because it's very generic. So we're not making any business inside. But everyone should not be the target audience. Everyone should be covered in your bucket. कि इंडिया bucket है तो हमें पता है इंडियंस के लिए रेलिवेंट है. वो वहीं पे क्लोज कर लो उसको. यहाँ पे आके नीश डाउन करो कि हम किससे बात कर रहे हैं डायरेक्टली. So give me an example of like anybody, like your target audience wise. कौन है वो? Like, is it a CEO? Who's your customer? Who's your customer?
So over here, especially with this post, with what I'm trying to tell is the target audience would be people who have remained obese rather, and people who have tried multiple times throughout their life, but they have never succeed. They have reached success.
ठीक है. तो obese people, not Succeeded. Oh my God, my spelling of succeeded. Successed. Very nice. अच्छा, so obese people who have not succeeded, cool. एंड ये जो ओबीस लोग हैं ये कौन है? देखो, अगर ओबीस तो एक छोटा बच्चा भी हो सकता है 15 साल का, बट वो आपको पे करके आपकी सर्विस तो नहीं ले सकता। तो कौन है वो ऐसा इंसान हु विल टेक, लाइक हु, उसको डिफाइन कर दो मेरे लिए कि 20 साल, 25 साल, 35 साल, सीईओ, वीसी। क्योंकि लिंक्डइन पे तो लोग ऐसे ही है ना, लिंक्डइन पे तो लोग उनकी डेजिग्नेशन के हिसाब से, रोल के हिसाब से हैं। तो मुझे वैसे थोड़ा सा हम उसको डिडक्ट करते हैं, फिर हम उसी टाइप की बात करेंगे ताकि उन्हीं लोगों को ये हिट करे।
I would say people, I think mostly people in corporate. So that's what,
कॉर्पोरेट पीपल, फाइन, लाइक एमएनसीज में काम करते हैं जो,
हाँ,
चलेगा। अब इस पे आते हैं, ठीक है। नाउ I'll have to click back at your post again and again, so please don't mind me on that. Indians have a pathetic habit of starting a conversation with the common physical looks. 2 years ago, when I visited home on Diwali, my neighbor auntie couldn't stop commenting on my looks. अब ये वाली इतने पे ही वीक हो गए हो, शक्ल से ग्लो चला गया, अब इसको ही हम इतने को होल्ड करते हैं, ठीक है। अब इसको ना हम हुक बनाने की कोशिश करते हैं, ठीक है। तो हुक जो होते हैं ना यार, वो होने चाहिए छोटे, ठीक है। अब मैं ये बोल सकता हूँ, सबको क्या पसंद है दिवाली पे करना? लोग घर जाते हैं, एमएनसीज में सारे लोग घर जाते हैं ना छुट्टी पे, और सबको अच्छा लगता है, वाह वाह। आई हेट गोइंग होम ऑन दिवाली। दैट्स अ ग्रेट हुक। क्यों, तुझे क्यों नहीं पसंद? हमको तो पसंद है, मैं भी घर नहीं जा रहा हूँ, क्या है इसका रीजन? अब वहां निकलेगी रिलेटेबिलिटी की। ये जो आंटियां हैं ना, और जो चाचियां हैं जो उन्होंने हेडेक दे रखा है, दैट्स वेयर द इमोशन विल कम एंड पीपल विल कनेक्ट। सो लेट्स से आई से समथिंग लाइक, वही ना यार, टाइम हो ना वर्कशॉप पे, ये 1 घंटे में करना बड़ा मुश्किल है यार। आई हेट गोइंग होम ऑन दिवाली।
Diwali.
ऑन दिवाली, इट्स जस्ट, चलेगा। अच्छा, अब क्या होगा? What are we going to add here? What is the next crunch to this? क्योंकि हमें पता है हम डबल हुक यूज कर रहे हैं, हमें पता है हमने एक हुक यूज कर लिया, हमें दूसरा भी यूज करना है। 2 years ago when I visited home on Diwali, now here is when it'll like start, like you'll say, last time I went home for Diwali on in 2022, because the numbers 2022, add numbers, right? Last time I went home for Diwali in 2022. Now the story is going. लाइक नाउ यू विल से कोई आ गया, आंटी आ गई। अब उस कैरेक्टर को इंट्रोड्यूस करना पड़ेगा। आपने बोला आंटी ने बोला है, अब ये आंटी के भी थोड़े बारे में हमें थोड़ा सा बताना है कि आंटी कैसी है, खुद कैसी दिखती है, क्या करती है, और थोड़ा पोलाइट तरीके में, राइट? लाइक वी डोंट वांट अटैक हर ऑन सोशल फोरम, शी इज नॉट यूजिंग लिंक्डइन, व्हाई आर वी अटैकिंग हर? विल अटैक हर द फेस। ओके, आई हेट गोइंग होम ऑन दिवाली। लास्ट टाइम व्हेन आई वेंट होम in 2022 for Diwali, it's just giving a headache. So
Yes.
when I home in 2022, my mom's, I mean, your mother's fast friend or whatever, like, how do we say it? Like, my auntie came to visit us for Diwali greetings. आते हैं ना सब डब्बा लेके. So, we can change it and we can tweak it a little bit later.
Yeah.
I'm writing it because I need to write the story and then edit it. Okay. So last time I went home in 2022, uh, that's when my aunt came to visit us. ये तो, ये आंट का रिप्लेसमेंट लाओ कोई, इंडियंस नहीं बोलते आंट ऊंट। सो और जो तुम्हारी टारगेट ऑडियंस है वो ये 30-35 साल के लोग जो कंपनी में काम कर रहे हैं, वो आंट वांट नहीं सोचते, वो दे थिंक इन हिंदी।
Auntie.
हाँ,
Why can't it be just auntie, right?
auntie. Oh yes, sorry,
हाँ.
my bad, my bad. Okay, that's when my auntie came to visit us for Diwali greetings. ठीक है? Now she started, क्या करती है सबसे पहले, क्या करती है कि चाय पिया उसने, as soon as she's, the moment the first sip of the chai touched her lip, she started saying dash, like, now you're building the little bit कि सबको लग रहा है हाँ वो चाय पीती है, बैठती है, फिर ये बोलती है, रिलेटेबिलिटी आ रहा है, वो आता
Yes.
है, विजुअल थिंकर्स होते हैं सब। अच्छा, she sat down on the sofa, हमारे यहाँ काउच नहीं होता, सोफा होता है, took the first sip of the chai. You can define the chai, what kind of chai you drink at home, whatever. And started, उसको क्या बोलते हैं जब कोई शूटिंग क्वेश्चंस ना, शूटिंग क्वेश्चन ज्यादा कूल तो नहीं हो जाएगा? Starting throwing questions at me like I'm a dartboard with this too much flour. Let's not eat that much flour. Let's keep direct.
अभी
And
ज्यादा स्टोरी बिल्डिंग नहीं होगी because we are the third line already
we
and we
will
are still building the story, or
we
we'll tweak
will
it later.
we'll trim it down. हम बाद में जब पूरा लिख लेते हैं फिर हम ये सोचते हैं कि हमें जरूरत कितनी की है, हमने ओवर कहाँ कर दिया, तो वो एडिटिंग में निकल जाता है सब, राइट? सो इफ वी डोंट नीड, लेट्स से हम बाद में डिसाइड करते हैं कि वर्ड्स हमें कम चाहिए क्योंकि हम शॉर्ट पोस्ट लिख रहे हैं, लॉन्ग, व्हाटएवर दैट इज, सो देन वी कैन ट्रिम दैट डाउन एंड से। अब अगर हम एकदम से बोलते हैं कि मुझे आंटी मिली और आंटी ने ये बोल दिया, आपने वो गैप नहीं फिल किया ना वहां पे कि एकदम से ये हो रहा है एकदम से वो हो रहा है, वो नहीं फंस पाता है, फिर रीडर नहीं सुन पाता है उसको। शी सैट ऑन द सोफा टू द फर्स्ट, ओके शी, और या फिर ये मत लिखो ना, कुछ छोटा बता दो जो आंटी करती है। छोटा क्या करती है आंटी, कि आंटी की एक हरकत, कोई चीज जो आपने ऑब्जर्व की हो जो आंटी करती है, कि आंखें नीचे की, चश्मे ऐसे किया, वो एक हरकत हमें डालनी है, उससे लोग रिलेट कर लेंगे, दैट हैबिट ऑफ आंटी।
और she just ऊपर से नीचे तक देखा आपको उन्होंने बहुत टाइम बाद, and the first thing which you could as usual,
नहीं नहीं ठीक है, शी, I would say checked me out. She looked at me and started, उसको क्या बोलते हैं, ये क्या, ये लाइन क्या होती है? क्योंकि ये तो नहीं है ना कि दिस थिंग ऑफ सेइंग कि तुम कितने दुबले पतले हो गए, ये चेहरा ये हो गया वो हो गया, दिस इज नॉट अ क्वेश्चन, दिस इज व्हाट इज दिस, ये क्या है, ये इट्स अ स्टेटमेंट,
a
जजमेंट,
taunt or rather a judgment or whatever.
and started with her taunts, right? With her
Usual taunts, not usual.
first
The, hmm.
first taunt of the evening. Add some spice.
Hmm.
Again, you can change all of that. Okay. अच्छा, अब यहाँ पे आ जाते हैं हम, अब ये है, वीक हो गए हो, शक्ल से ग्लो चला गया है, एड वन मोर, एड वन मोर, ठीक है? I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna move it to the board because it'll be easier. We never made it till here. In my workshop, I designed so many things. We never make it till there. It's just hilarious. I go back home thinking I'll do a better job next time. And then something happens. It's just so funny. Okay. So आपने
But we anyway have quite limited time, right? We just have 1 hour all the time, so
हाँ
it's
यार,
difficult.
90 minutes करूंगा अगली बार से, and I'll reduce the workshops from 8 to maybe 5 or something like that. अच्छा, so I hate going home on Diwali. Last time I went home, this auntie came, this happened, weak हो गए हो, एक और डाला, एक और डाला। अब वो 3 ऐसे कमेंट डाले जो बड़े जेनेरिक हैं और लोगों को रिलेट कर पा रहे हैं लोग इससे, ठीक है? I'll increase the size so it's easy for you to read. अच्छा, now add one more हो गया। अब हमने क्या बोली है, now we have to talk directly to the audience.
Yes.
Now we have to say कि
Hmm.
I'm sure भी नहीं, I know I am not the only one, but this has to stop. This is just a random line of writing here where you can add whatever your inputs are, whatever your thing is. Now, I know I'm not the only one, but this has to stop for whatever reasons, lack of confidence और वो सब, या फिर doubts। अब यहाँ पे ना वो डालो कि एक आंटी बोलती तो एक बात थी, ये सारी आती हैं एक एक करके और सेम ही रिपीट पे सेट पे जाके जाती हैं। सोचो मेंटली क्या फर्क पड़ेगा उसका, राइट? सो टॉक अबाउट द स्केल ऑफ द इशू, राइट? अब यहां पे डालो कि मेरे नेबर्स भी मुझे बोल रहे थे, वो भी मुझे बोल रहे थे। अब इफ यू विल राइट अ पोस्ट ना, यू आर अ गुड लुकिंग मैन, इफ यू विल राइट अ पोस्ट ना कि ये मुझे बोल रही थी खराब खराब, तो लोग बोलेंगे कि फार्मिंग, लोग बोलेंगे फार्मिंग हो रही है यहाँ पे। They will not buy it. In order to make them buy it, you have to give the details of the story. And you have, ये रियल में हुआ है, तो अगर रियल में हुआ है तो you're thinking of that now, and then you're able to say it's just easy. It's just the thinking. Now, talk about the scale of the issue. कि अब यार more aunties are saying it. माय गॉड। प्लस वो भी बोल रहे हैं, क्या बोलते हैं इनको, नेबर्स, राइट? तो अब इसकी वजह से लीडिंग टू इंक्रीज इन सेल्फ डाउट, राइट? ठीक है, अभी वहां जा रहा है, वहां जा रहा है। फाइनली नाउ हियर यू एड योर 2 cents ऑफ द सोल्यूशन। अब यहां पे जब व्हेन यू एड योर 2 cents, यू एड इमोशन बाय सेइंग व्हाई डू यू स्टिल गो होम फॉर दिवाली। अब यहाँ पे अपना सारा जो नेगेटिव है उसको फ्लिप कर दो पॉजिटिव में। घर जाना जरूरी है, घर जाओ, घर पे ऐसे फैमिली, अच्छी चीजें भी तो कितनी है, ऐसे पॉजिटिव ग्लास ऑफ फुल देखो ना, ये सब ऐसे।
Examples?
Talk about 5 things. Yes, in the script, the examples
Yeah.
is the part of the format, so it's right. So, but now examples of real things, activities that you're doing with your parents, like
Hmm.
कुछ मम्मी की हेल्प में करा दी, काम में हेल्प करा दी, पापा की कहीं पे कुछ हेल्प कर दी, या उनके साथ कोई एक्टिविटी कर ली बैठ के, राइट? बातें करने के अलावा कैरम खेल लिया उनके साथ, लाइक व्हेन आई गो होम वी प्ले कैरम, like or we'll play cards. It's because as a kid I used to play with them. तो वो मेरी memory है. What is your memory? How can you connect that? So when you do that in 5 भी नहीं, 3 examples में भी वो बहुत होता है। तो 5 भी डाल सकते हो, वो कितनी अच्छी चीज है, कैसे है, whatever. Now when you put that in, you've kind of defeated your hook, which was I hate going home on Diwali. Now no one hates you for saying that. You've justified it. कोई रिस्क नहीं है, वरना ये होगा ना कि हुक यूज कर लिया इसने, फार्मिंग कर ली, देखो
Farming care.
वो चला गया रिस्क। अब पूरी बात भी हमने कर दी, लास्ट में जाके अब कुछ ये तो बता दो, करें क्या? क्या आप ये बोल रहे हो कि ये सुनते रहो आंटियों को, राइट? करें क्या?
Right.
क्योंकि वो सोल्यूशन तो दे दो, अब इतना सोचा हुआ है तो बताओ। या फिर लास्ट में ये बोल दो कि तुम्हें खुद को ही थिक स्किन बनानी पड़ती है, तुम्हें खुद को ही एलिगेटर का शेल पहनना पड़ता है, क्योंकि मैं तो जब इतना मोटा दिखता था तब भी मुझे यही बोल रहे थे, अब मैं इतना फिट हो गया हूँ तब भी मुझे यही बोल रहे हैं, इनको खुश करके तो कुछ नहीं मिलेगा। तो इस बार अगर दिवाली पे घर जा रहे हो तो प्लीज don't sweat the aunties or what, that is not to not come out right. But whatever that is, like, you get my point.
I think what I did in the end was in this post. Obviously, this post which you wrote is fantastic, and there's more masala, and then there is a fantastic cook. I think I catered to those aunties. Ki, be compassionate. And do you realize that your one comment, your one icebreaker is leading to eating disorders in people? So I think the target audience wasn't on LinkedIn, or rather, even if they are on LinkedIn, they won't accept that we do that. So I think the target or जो जिसको मैं target कर रहा था in the end, that wasn't there.
You're right.
Target was us in the end. How do we tackle it?
Yes, and that's why I picked this post to discuss at the end of the workshop, to just because when I read the post, I was like, how do I give feedback to this? Because you need to have that specificity. See, this is something I spent so much time writing content, roaming around, not having figured out anything. And a lot of intelligent people telling me niche pick kar le, niche pick kar le. And I was like, I talk about everything because I do everything. I do so many things. Not a good thing to do. Once you've figured out your niche, then it's not a good thing to do. Otherwise, trying is fine. Your niche is very clear and very figured. Why are you even writing a post for general public on LinkedIn when your bucket is India? अब इंडिया में
Yeah.
उसको नीच करने की कोशिश करो ना। अब यहीं पे ये कॉन्वर्सेशन हो जाती है कि मैं इससे बात कर रहा था जो वीपी है किसी कंपनी में और जिसे मैं ट्रेन करता हूँ, वो भी मुझे बता रहा था कि उसके साथ यही होता है। मैं बोल रहा हूँ ये, मैंने फिर पर्पसफुली अपने एक और कस्टमर से पूछा, उसने बोला अब तुमने इनडायरेक्टली अपनी ऑडियंस को बता दिया तुम्हारे कस्टमर किस टाइप के हैं। अब कोई और वीपी
Right.
है किसी कंपनी में, वो चल अच्छा इसकी सर्विस में ले सकता हूँ, और वीपीज ने भी ले रखी हैं। अब अगर तुमने ये ऐड कर दिया वीपी एट सो एंड सो कंपनी, right, at a big India's biggest FMCG brand or whatever, then it adds more कि अच्छा he's working with top shelves, so I want him to work with me either. I mean, I want to get that insight, or like I will be considered a top shelf because I'm a part of that company, like of that community or that group. That is why I've kept like even my workshop niche down, and I've said पांच को ही दूंगा because I'm like I'm having a good time, so very personal oriented, but doing community work also, giving it to all the people and all and everything shows me in good light. So same is the case here. You have to be shown into good light. So I'm using your profiles, or I'm using the kind of people that I work when I write my posts and I highlight इसके founder से ये बात हुई थी. It gives an idea to my reader because I'm only writing for the startup founder. All of these creators are just they end up reading it and liking it. I'm not writing because I wrote for them for like a year. Now if I write for a founder also, वो उसमें से अपने लिए relevant क्या है वो ढूंढ के बात कर लेते हैं. You need to do that. You need to specify. And then when you'll do, I'll show you something since you've stayed back on the call for so long. So, for example, I'll show you my strategy sheet and how I study it, and you guys will reach there, I think, in workshop 6. So, for example, this is like my top 10 content where I'll find out, okay, kitne impressions aaye, I'll embed the link. I'll look at, okay, what was the type? I'll look at like buckets, the buckets we discussed. Then, ये तो चलो मेरी post है ही जो top post है और किस पे क्या क्या impressions है. I then have charted out personal branding separately. So in personal branding, I have like 10 very good posts that I've performed. This is my insight. मुझे पता है कि पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग के बारे में, लिंक्डइन के बारे में मैं कभी भी बात कर रहा हूं तो वो मेरी पोस्ट चल जाती है, तो मुझे इसकी बात करनी चाहिए. ये इनसाइट यहां से निकलती है. आपको वहां, अगर आप अपनी ऑडियंस को फिक्स कर दोगे, तब आप वहां तक पहुंच पाओगे. जब आप वहां तक पहुंच जाओगे, अब मेरी नेक्स्ट टैब इसके अंदर जो मैं बना रहा हूं, द रीजन व्हाई आई एम ऑन दिस शूट, आई यूजुअली ओनली टॉक अबाउट द द recent work that I'm doing. So the reason that like I'm showing you this now is because now I'm dividing a new tab and I'm calling it videos, because I only want to study my videos and I only want to see how they are performing. Because like recently, like this is getting like really good traction for some
Yeah.
reason. LinkedIn's doing something. So that.
Hmm. I had 2 questions for you if you are there to stay on the call. Are you? पहला क्वेश्चन चलो ठीक है
Wait,
पहला
wait,
क्वेश्चन
let me just wait. Let me just do it that I always forget. Guys, the workshop 4 is over. Thank you so much. We have one person only remaining because either I'm a very good teacher that everyone learned everything quickly, or everyone's very busy with Diwali. Either way, the workshop's happening. I'm going to quickly stop this video. Thank God. And